there's an innate, I think, yearning in people, whether they know it or not. There's an innate yearning in human beings to actually perceive and experience through the heart. Just the mere fact that human beings, really as all living beings as far as we know, are hooked up to prefer happiness over sorrow, right? Happiness. Think of, where do you experience happiness? Right? It's predominantly, it begins here, doesn't it? It begins in the heart. If it's deep and profound happiness, you can feel it in the bottom of your toes to the top of your head. But happiness we experience here, love, experiences in the heart. Joy, ecstasy, even silence, contentment. Again, we often associate these kind of things only with a kind of either overt or subtle emotional experience. But the feeling of all these things is actually sort of the exterior surface of a deeper perception, a deeper knowing, you could say. As I said, we ultimately experience unity through the heart as a intuitive kind of way of perceiving. The heart is almost kind of like a antenna as well. You know, it's what in many ways connects you to everything around you. If you're very contracted and very protective, then it's like your antenna is only reaching, barely getting past the boundary of your own skin. Right? If you're more open, more available, more trusting, that antenna, that way of perceiving life starts to reach out beyond the boundaries of your skin, right? It starts to become more and more and more vast and open. And you start to experience life in a very, very different way than when it's kind of contracted and limited to the space within your own skin. When that's the case, we'll all innately feel a kind of confinement or isolation. Everybody in this room has experienced feeling lonely before. And the experience of being lonely, not alone, because you can be alone and not be lonely at all, but the experience of being lonely, right? It is an experience of being sort of cut off, isn't it? It's almost as if the whole way of experiencing life through the heart is almost not available to you. You not only feel cut off when you feel lonely from the world around you, but strangely also you feel cut off from yourself. It's like you can't find either one. Where is somebody that could be with me or sit with me or talk with me? And in some strange way, it's an inability to also find what's on the inner. It's kind of, you feel somewhat estranged on both directions, outwardly and inwardly. It's really when the heart is no longer perceiving, when the heart gets very, very, very cloudy. It can get cloudy because you experience the loss. Someone you love dies. The heart gets very kind of chaotic, doesn't it? It experiences grief, right? And when you can feel, when you experience these difficult emotions, it's almost like the antenna of the heart starts to pull back in, doesn't it? And it's not connecting what's out there anymore. That's why when you experience these more powerful negative emotions, you also experience part of the most painful part of most negative emotions is you feel a lack of being able to connect, right? And if it's very painful, it feels like nobody can reach you. If you're in a very deep state of sorrow, deep state of grief or despair, it feels like you can't reach anybody and nobody can reach you. This is when the sensitivity of the heart starts to get covered over, right? when it starts to contract. I only say this so you get the sense that at some level or another, everybody is perceiving through the heart. They may be utilizing 5% of its capacity, or 10% or 25%, but everybody is actually experiencing to some level or another through the heart. You do sense your way through life. Even people who are extraordinarily caught in the intellect, they're still also perceiving through the heart to some extent. And of course, the deeper aspect of the heart is also this sort of profound but very rich kind of stillness. A very quiet and yet not cut off mind, not isolated, but deeply present. Whenever you're deeply present, you're actually utilizing this sensory organ of the heart.